All right. Well, I don't do many of these, so I thought this would be a good time for me to jump on and do one because this is as significant a event that we've had in college football, maybe in history. And perhaps I'm overplaying this since it's really fresh. But I think we might have seen the signs that Nick Saban was getting close to retiring outside of his age. Um, there were the signs, things changing rapidly in college football, and we know Nick Saban over the years has been very vocal in not necessarily speaking out on things, but really asking fans and the powers that be, is this really what you want in college football? And we found him doing this almost annually. First it was the hurry up offenses, and then it progressed into the transfer portal and NIL and all the other different things that came. And most of the fan bases out there, especially all of the ones not Alabama. I don't think it was ever Alabama fans criticizing him on this, but they had their criticism saying that, oh, he's just worried that he's going to lose his advantage. It was never that, I think, for Nick Saban. I don't think he ever worried about that. He realized that he was at the top of college football and that anything that was presented out there as a weapon, for lack of a better term, could be used best by his program since he was at the top of the heap. But I just think this is a man that has a true love and appreciation for the game of college football and felt that, some of these things that were being introduced into college football was not in the best interest of college football, or at least not in the best interest of the college football game that he knows and loves. And so, yeah, I mean, we could kind of chalk that up to his age. He came in at a time where things were very, very different, and maybe, adapting to these changes mentally became more and more difficult. Now, whatever he felt about college football, it didn't affect his on the field performance, his job performance. He went out and competed. And, I actually think for him to leave at this time was probably best. It was probably better that he not leave right after a championship, because then there'd be all those questions. Could he have won another one? I think this was probably one of his better coaching jobs, especially in the last decade. Some of the teams he's had over the past decade have just been so much more talented than everyone else that it kind of takes away from the coaching job that he's done. But in this particular year, there was some significant losses. You didn't have what you have had in the past at the quarterback position, and still somehow, some way, you found your way back into the college football playoff, defeating the new king of the hill in Georgia, and getting in there and playing a really, really great game against the eventual champion Michigan. In all honesty, like, Alabama really had Michigan on the ropes, and it looks like Jim Harbaugh was getting ready to fall on his face there at Michigan. And somehow Michigan got in, did what they've done all year, and persevered and beat them. But he was really close to being in another college football championship. And I'm not sure what would have happened there if he happened to get into that championship game and perhaps win it. Would he have been inclined to retire? But he's done that. Guys, some of the other signs was, buying the house down here in South Florida, amassing all of the car dealerships. It doesn't surprise me that he's going to move into business. What he has done with Alabama has certainly been a masterclass in business. One of his great lines that I've always liked, and he's talked about it usually after winning the championship, was maximizing the value for the players that have come through Alabama. He really did see them as customers. And, now he's going to move into business. And I fully expect him to be very, very successful, as successful, if not more successful, in that endeavor as he moves on. But I'm also going to say this about Nick Saban. He has thrown a lot of great things into college football. He's kind of showed us how this thing could and should be done. His mark on this game will last, certainly outlive all of our lifetimes. And I don't know, with the way things are changing in college football, all of these super conferences, don't think we're going to see undefeated football teams anymore, at least not ones that we're calling champions. That's going to be very difficult for him, for teams to do, given the kind of schedules that are being put together because of these conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, and whatever is to come with probably some other conferences merging. We're just never going to see the kind of dominance, I think, that we just witnessed with Alabama in the foreseeable future. I just don't think we're going to see those kind of runs. I really think the championship is going to get spread around a whole lot more, again, because of the super conferences, and also because we have these 12-team playoffs now, where there's a chance for those upsets, and there's a lot more steps and hurdles now to get to that championship. So I think this is a really good time for Nick Saban to step out. What he'll do next, outside of, perhaps managing those dealerships, or at least overseeing that, we don't know. If he ends up being some kind of commentator on ESPN or Fox or something like that, I don't think that'd be such a bad idea. Such a wealth of knowledge, and speaks well, has a sense of humor. We've all seen how he commanded the press conferences when he was at Alabama. So that would not be such a bad thing if he did that. I think it would actually be a really, really great thing. So let's talk about what's next. I have definitely said on Twitter at GridironStuds, by the way, I have certainly talked about how I think the Alabama fan base is going to be the worst thing on Twitter that anyone has ever seen the day Nick Saban leaves, and I'm going to stand by that. You want to talk about a fan base that was spoiled, and I'm not really saying this in a bad way. You've been treated to the best run in college football history. And this has also come at a time where fans are able to be heard, and their voices speak loudly. And everyone has a Twitter account or an Instagram account, or they're on Facebook. And there's many different ways that fans can voice their displeasure about things. It's going to be extremely difficult for whoever that next person is walking in the door. You have the hugest shoes to fill. And when you don't, those Alabama, those folks in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and everywhere else are most likely going to be unforgiven, because there's one thing and one thing that they know, and that's championships, and that's double-digit wins, and that's, nothing but success for Alabama football. And again, it's coming in a time where fans can voice their opinions. And so man, you better be tight with God, or you're going to be, fixing yourself a whole lot of stiff drinks, whoever that next guy is going to be. And I'm not even sure who can handle that. I would say off the top of my head, Dabo Swinney, not only because he's a successful coach who's done this thing before and played in championships, and he played at Alabama, but in watching Dabo Swinney handle himself and really speak on his beliefs, with opinions be damned, whether it was his religious beliefs or how he felt about NIL and transfer portal and players committing and then taking trips. He has his feelings, and he, doesn't hesitate to make them known. And I don't want to say doesn't care about what people have to say, but will voice them and let you have your opinion and not really care about it. I think mentally, he's probably the guy that can handle whatever is going to come the next Alabama coach's way. Urban Meyer's out there without a job. There's a guy that could, jump in and has been to the mountaintop and certainly knows how to build a program and do all the things that you need to do there. Excuse me, but is Urban Meyer built for the pressure that is certainly going to come the way of the next Alabama coach? Because here's the deal. Not only do you have huge shoes to fill, but it's about what it is I spoke to you about. I don't care if Nick Saban was staying. I don't care if it was prime Nick Saban. It is a difficult road now to the championship. It's an almost impossible road now for you to be undefeated in college football if you're in the SEC or you're in the Big Ten. Have you seen the schedules? Have you seen just a list of teams? Take a look at what Alabama has for a schedule, what Michigan has for a schedule, what USC has for a schedule next year. It's going to be extremely difficult to be undefeated. So Alabama fans are going to be witnessing more losses coming up than anything they've experienced in the most recent past. And it's going to be tough for a new coach. It's going to be tough for the players that come there, and it's going to be hard for them. I'm going to just make this plea to Alabama fans: if you care at all about your program, and you're one of these Twitter guys, you better go easy. You better tread lightly with how you treat that next coach and the players that play there, because whether you think they should or not, whether you like it or not, These players are on social media. They read these things and they're affected by it. As much as they may say they're not, as much as they may not, they may think that they're not, they are affected by it. And um, programs can get run into the ground that way. It's, I played at the University of Miami, and what's going on 23, 24 years since we've been in a championship game. And we've had to go through this social media era where constantly the players that are playing now are compared to things of the past, the 2001 team, the teams of the early 90s, the teams of the 80s, and it can be daunting. And so I'm just going to say to Alabama fans out there, enjoy the time that you had with Nick Saban. Things are going to be different now. They would have been different anyway. And falling short of that next coach being a disaster, if he's winning in any kind of a consistent clip, my warning to you is be easy on your criticisms, be supportive, and stay along those lines if you want to see Alabama football continue to be relevant, because within a space of 10 years, you could fall into the middle of the SEC and, believe it or not, fall right off the map and let someone else jump right in. But again, this is my instant reaction to the news that Nick Saban, the most successful coach in college football history, has finally decided to bring this all to an end and retire as the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. All right, guys. Coming up next week, or actually tomorrow, we're going to be posting the Two Chumps Football Podcast. I just finished taping that. Emil Calamino and I going through some topics. We happened to just miss this one. We just finished taping and then found out Nick Saban was retiring, so we don't talk about that, but we have several things we're going to be talking about on the show. Our reaction to the college football championship game, NFL job openings. Emil and I rank the NFL job openings, talk a little bit about some of the future for some of these teams. And then we also run down our playoff picks. Man, we've done awesome. We've done absolutely outstanding. If you've been following our picks on the Two Chumps Football Podcast this year, kudos to you. You made some money because we've just been killing it. So we're dropping our NFL picks on the Two Chumps Football Podcast. All right, that's it for me. I'm out, and we'll see you guys next time.